So to start it off, I want to do a few Mythic Plus dungeons. I also want to talk a little bit about the UI that I've made. It was heavily inspired by Quasi's UI. In addition to that, there's very little add-ons actually being used for the regular gameplay. So here's what I've done. In terms of add-ons, I'm mostly using some utility add-ons. I really like Auctionator, since it allows for far easier management, especially if you're selling something constantly or purchasing crafting materials for professions that you don't have. The pre-made group filter, I can showcase that a little bit later. And then teleport menu, probably my favorite add-on. Sorry. Yeah, that was weird. Just a moment. Oh, there we go. And this is the add-on that I forgot to turn off last time. It creates nice numbers when you're alone, but for Mythic Plus, it just covers everything and you can't see anything. Details, which is also inspired by how Quasi set it up. I don't really use Heckley. It's been there for testing purposes for the single button assist. ID tip is very useful when you're creating your macros or you need IDs for something. Mythic Dungeon Tools is used for the pathing and calculating your routes, which is a great tool. Plater is probably the only one that I'm using as a functional tool for in combat, since it helps me. What I basically use it for is for better stacking, since if you're using your I can actually show you this. It's very visible here. So you see how nicely stacked they are? So if I turn Plater off, you can see them when they're small, that's fine. But for me, I'm using a 32-inch screen. So things can get difficult to target quickly in combat like this. So what I would need to do is go to the interface and then enable large nameplates. But can you see how badly stacked these are and how badly it behaves? It often overlaps and it's very difficult to navigate. Even if you zoom out, it doesn't really get better. So the only thing I'm using Plater for is for that stacking. So let's reload. Because it stacks it much, much better, as you can see. So another thing that I've picked up from a friend of mine was the use for the action bar here. Sorry, the personal bar. Since it does have increased amount of information since the last time I used it, and it does help me not having to look over to my health bar and unit frame when I'm tanking. I do have to glance at it from time to time, but in order to keep my stacks up for Shield of the Righteous, I do need to have this visible. And having this and weak auras doesn't really work. Since this thing moves in the world space while weak auras are UI space, and it just doesn't work. So here's what I did with other pieces. So first things first, actually, I've enabled 4 of the action bars. In addition to that, I've enabled click to cast in keybinds. So, and I've enabled both of these. You'll see why. The cooldown manager, I've edited it, so I see only what I really need to see. And this might differ from your class or preferences, etc. It doesn't really change or replace the weak auras, but I also wanted to get myself used to the new way of playing the game, since Blizzard will remove weak auras and they will limit their APIs in the UI. So instead of getting used to it, way back when, I'm gonna do it right now. And I wanted to make it as streamlined as possible. So that's one thing. The other thing, which I think is very important, is the interaction key, which I've bound to Shift T, but you can bind it to whatever. It helps quite a bit with a lot of mechanics. And lastly, I do enable action targeting, since I can always see which is my target, and when I turn, I can switch targets like that. So it helps, especially when you're tanking and you have to interrupt quickly. You can see how targets changes when you turn. Sometimes it's more difficult, sometimes you have to tab, but generally once you get used to it, and once you get used to how it actually shifts targets based on your center of the screen, it's really super helpful. In addition to that, I've changed my party to look like raid frames, and I'm not sure where that is right now. Could be in edit mode, so let's go to edit mode. I've changed my party to look like raid frames, and I've scaled it up a little bit so it mimics what Cell did. And when you have enabled not click to cast, rather point to cast. I forgot the exact name of the setting. You can actually, just hover over and use your abilities such as Blessing of Sacrifice or Combat Res or Heal, like Word of Glory, and whatever else is needed for your party or for yourself for that matter. It helps quite a bit. Then here I do have my tracked buffs, which are currently hidden, since I'm testing it out to see if I really need them or not. What I do need is my tracked bars, which are just icon and name in display mode, as well as my essential cooldowns. This is the SBA. Since I used to play with Hekili a little bit, since I'm not really good DPS, I do need some assistance when my mind goes blank and I forgot what I need to press. Yes, even with a paladin. So I just put it there, and I just have it show me the icon, since the bars are hidden, and it just shows that one icon, which is like something you can press next if you ever get lost. This is my cast bar, regular stuff. Like, these are disabled actually as well, the utility cooldowns. These are essential cooldowns, are the only ones who are actually enabled all the time. And in addition to that, there is a customization to the personal bar, which I'll show you. These two bars are also hidden outside of combat, and they show up in combat, while this bar is the vice versa. It's shown outside of combat but hidden in combat, since I don't really need it. And yeah, that's it. It keeps my UI clean. It keeps my center screen clean so I can focus on mechanics. And it shows me quite enough information. The reason why it shows quite enough information is actually due to this personal bar. Now, the personal bar, I've edited it through Plater. I'm not sure if it can be edited like this without it. So if you go to personal bar, you can disable health bar, power bar, which in my case is mana. Cast bar, since I have cast bar here. I don't need spell cast text or power percentage or whatnot. What I need is show buffs and show debuffs. And what it does, it shows them here, which is great when you're tracking your stacks of Shield of the Righteous and other passives. It's just enough not to bother me, and it's always there so I can see it. So let me show you how that works. So if I can do this, you can see all of those are right there. And it does get a little bit tricky since this thing moves, so... But I'm gotten used to it so far, so it doesn't really... I don't really have to chase it with my eyes. And I always get like 93, 4, 5% uptime in combat for Shield of the Righteous. So it generally works. And as you can see, I can track my bars here if I'm unsure what to do in any given moment. Yeah. So that I have my defensives, I have my generators, and I have my cooldowns right there. For other stuff, I don't use it that often, or I don't really need a reminder for it. So it's always there. When I was using WeChorus and Quasi's UI, I actually had all my bars hidden, even in combat. But for this one, I can't really do that, since it doesn't show me enough information that I can react to quite fast enough. So that's the reason why it went like this.